everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today we're in the shop and we're going to be working on a little piece of equipment. You may remember a few weeks ago we got this cute little Black & Decker valve grinding machine at the auction. So I finally got around to seeing if it worked, and it sort of runs, but this one, the grinding head, it's got two motors, right? It's got this one here that runs the valve, and it's got the grinding head here that actually grinds it. So this one here, when you operated this switch, it was blowing the circuit breaker. So I wanted to just pop it apart and see what the heck was going on. The wiring is a disaster in this thing. So we're going to order two switches. We got to put two new plugs on it, and we're going to rewire the motors and go from there. I've already gone ahead, and this here is the part that turns the valve. And you can see here it's got this double reduction. And these are vacuum cleaner belts. I just went to the Canadian Tire and got these. So that works fine, perfectly. I don't know if there's supposed to be some kind of a guard over this. I doubt it. This is a real economy machine. It's only got one collet in it. I'm pretty sure this only does 3/8 and 11/32 valves, nothing else. So that's what I've done. Yeah, sorry, I took it apart before I started filming, but there's not really much to do. This thing just comes off by removing this nut, right? And you can get at the underneath of it. And this guy here, there's a plate on the end of it that basically keeps it from sliding out. And then you just unscrew it till you get to the end of the thread, and you're done. Now, what I did find out, this is the nut that fits down in here that this thing operates on. And this is what you use to go back and forth to grind the valve. And it is really loose. It's got almost a full turn of free play in it. So we need to fix up this. And this one is not much better. So same thing, we're gonna fix up these. I'm gonna come up with some kind of an insert, or it's just a piece of brass. If I've got some brass around here, I may just make a new one. Luckily, it's just a 1/2" 13 thread. It's nothing exotic. So it'll be easy to reproduce. I'm just seeing if it's the same one in the cross slide. So once you get that out, this guy will just, well, it's pretty stiff on there, but it'll slide right off, and then we can get at the little nut will be in there. Yep, same thing. You can see it just sits down in that bore there. That one's stuck in there a little bit more. Might have to be able to see if there's a hole in the bottom. We can drive it out, but we'll get it out one way or the other. Yeah, the thread in there is just wasted. So here's what we're doing to fix these nuts, these brass nuts. I got this in the mill, and I went straight through it. I bored it out to 5/8 and ran a reamer through it. So that is 625. So what we've got here, I've made a little insert that we're going to press into here. So we're working that down. I want to get it to 628 or 629. Let me grab the thing and we'll see what we're at. 643, so we're almost there. I'll take another 10 off it and we'll measure it again. There you go, 628 spot on. That gives us 3 thou of interference fit, and we'll put some green Loctite on it for good measure. So now I gotta get that thing cut off of there, get the ends of it cleaned up, and we can see if we can put it together. There we go. Now we'll put it in the lathe and clean it up. I got this end sticking out here. We'll get that, we'll turn that down in the lathe. There, that's perfect. We've gotten rid of the end play there. Now we got to see if we can get rid of some of the end play here. Because when you're cutting the valve, you're going back and forth like this with this thing. So anything that's going to give you end play and slop, you want to get rid of. It looks to me like this may be a locking nut that's adjustable to crank down on that. So we're going to try that first. All right, there we are. That worked. I did end up having to change the nut. This one, the lock part of it wasn't so good anymore. So that's this one. So that is the this way feed. That's the actual back and forth action to actually cut the valve. So this one, the cross feed, you can see there, it's pretty wiped out too. So we'll fix it the same way, but this time I'll show you on the mill how we do this part. The most critical thing of this entire operation is making sure we get this thing drilled straight and on center. So what I do, I thread it onto this piece of threaded rod. It's a little bit loose, but it's good. And then we lower the quill down and lock it. There. At the same time, we've got our vise loose so it can float around on the table. So we tighten it up like that. So now that is perfect. It's straight this way and it's on center this way and this way. Now we will tighten down the vise and we can drill. First thing we go through with is a 1/2-inch drill. That just gets rid of the threads and straightens it all up. It'd be the cat's ass to go through this with an end mill rather than drill bits, but I haven't got any that big. Once it's cooled off, we just run this 5/8 reamer through it by hand to get the hole exactly perfect. And then we'll carry on. We'll make up another insert and do just like we did on the other one. Now we'll turn it down to 628 like we did on the other one and put it together. So there's that one all fixed up. Now we need to do the same job on this. What happens on this one is there's a little bit of wear on the casting, probably on the back and the front side. So when the handle comes down, it hits this shoulder here, and there's not enough to take up the place, so it can still go in and out. So what we're going to do is mount it in the lathe and take maybe 20 or 30 thousandths off that face. That'll allow the handle to go down a little further and take up all the play. So we got this nut installed back in, and now we can get the carriage put back on. I've got everything cleaned up. We'll put a little oil on it. This has got a spring-loaded insert that keeps it taut, keeps the play out of it, and we'll oil everything up nice and it should be good. So now we can see here it turns nicely without all that play. It's a little bit tight, but I'm pretty sure once it gets used a little bit, it'll loosen up. And remember, this is the spring-loaded one. I think this handle is broken. I think it's supposed to have two, like this one has, but that's all right. Now we're going to work on the valve grind, the valve head. So this, the valve goes in this chuck here, and the electric motor in here turns it. So this has got a collet in it. You tighten it by, I'll show you how this works in a sec. You turn this screw, and that tightens the chuck on the valve. I'll show you how it works. Not much to these. You take this guy right out. And then you just use anything. Push the guts out. So you can see what we've got here. This is the collet that holds the valve. And you can see there, that's got a tapered seat. There's a corresponding tapered seat on the back side of this, right? And then this, as it pushes into there, you can see it tightens. Now this one is for 11/32 and 3/8 valves. There are two other ones smaller than this, and you can get right down to some pretty small valves. This one only came with that one, so that's what we've got. And then what I did This upper pulley here, you can see it's split. It's split. That's the only thing that holds it on. It's this piece here goes all the way through, and this presses on the back side of it. And that's how you adjust the end play of this, is by how far you press that on. So it was a little bit loose. We had to just touch it up a little bit to take the end play away. And that's all good. And then this down here, this is a grease cup. So this shaft that this pulley rides on is hollow. There's a bushing in there. So these are an old thing. You pack that cup with grease, and it screws on there. And every now and then you just give it a little turn, and it squeezes the grease out into the shaft and the bushing. And the main shaft here, you fill this up with oil, and there's a big felt wick inside here that rubs on this shaft on the inside that carries the oil out to the bushings. Now we're going to work on the bottom of this thing. We're going to replace this crappy old wire and the switch. Pretty straightforward stuff. Got our new wire in with one of these plastic strain relief bushings. You squeeze them around the wire and tap them into the hole. They're a little tricky to get in because this cast iron is almost 1/4 of an inch thick, but you just work at it, and they do go in. And lo and behold, there's actually a tool, this kind of pliers thing, to help you put them in. I got this on Amazon. It was cheap. Now we can go ahead and start making our connections inside here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we got our new wire in, got our new switch in. This thing is old from the era when they didn't have the green ground wire, so I just drilled a hole and pop riveted it to the casting so it's grounded. Now we're just going to have a look and make sure there's no wires near the commutator, and there is not. So now we could stand it up, plug it in, and see if it works. Well, so far so good. I plugged it in and nothing bad happened. All right, there it goes. Runs good. Runs really good. Perfect. There's a couple of holes already drilled in the back of this thing, so I installed a little utility box. Just easier to make our connections inside here. As you remember before, it had 2 cords. I'd like to have 1 cord. We've got this guy put back on, and you can see here's the graduation, so it turns on this axis here, and most of the time it would be set there at 45. That's pretty much, most valves are 45 degree. And then you lock it down with this here. I usually have just a busted off Robertson screwdriver that I stick in there. And then this one, you have the option of clamping down this lock nut to make sure the jam nut doesn't move. Okay, so now we'll get this cord into the box. There we go. Now we can start working on the grinder head. So we'll do the same job on this one. We'll change the switch and the power cord, and we've already covered that on the other one. So I'll see you when I'm done. So here's this one sorted out. There's the rivet for the ground wire. It's staked to the inside of the body there. We've got all our connections made, our new switch in. So now we'll flip it over and see if it runs. You got to remember, this was the one before that would, when the switch was on, it was run, but when you turned it off, it would blow the fuse. Yeah, it still does it. So I'm going to have to fiddle around with this tomorrow and see what's going on with it. All right, it's all good. They had it wired wrong, and I just wired it how they wired it. So now it works good. And you want the wheel, when it's running, you want the wheel to turn down, right? And you can see it does. That's perfect. Now, I'm still trying to figure out what in the world this is for, but, you know, one thing at a time. This one also has a little bit of an oil pot, so we're going to put some oil in there and let it soak in. Well, this has been a fun little project so far. I'm going to end this video here because even though it seems like we're almost done with this thing, there's still quite a bit to do. I have to make, that's going to be a bit of thinking and lathe work. We have to make a little fixture to hold the diamond bit to true the stone on this thing. So we'll do that in the next video. We'll put it together in the next video, make sure it all works, and we'll grind a valve. Anyway, until then, I'm going to let you go for now. I'd like to thank you for tuning into our channel. Hope you'll come back and see us again. And until then, I'm Kevin, saying so long from the Claremont Classic Garage.